Hello students, welcome to my channel Online Biology Tutorials. I am back again with another series of questions which are important for your Term 1 board examination. So stay connected with me till the end. The first question that I have picked for you is this one, which says that which one of the following is not an example of male accessory gland. So if you go on reading, seminal vesicle, it is absolutely correct. Yes, it is. Prostate is the second gland which we know, and bulbourethral gland is also there in the human males. So the only one that is left which is not an example of male accessory gland is ampulla, which is a part of fallopian tube in the female reproductive system. Remember, male accessory glands are the ones that will not directly help in the gamete formation, but their presence is very important because they will make the sperms motile. The next question which I have picked for you says that urethral meatus refers to the urinogenital tract, or is it the opening of vas deferens into urethra, or is it the external opening of the urinogenital tract, or these are the muscles surrounding the urinogenital tract. So meatus word is always related to an opening. So the C option is the correct one, that says external opening of the urinogenital tract. Remember, this is present in the case of males, and males, they pass urine, and in that urine semen is also there, right? This is important to know. This is a very basic question on the human sperm, and before we study it in detail, you must know that human sperm contains the head, a very short neck, middle piece, tail, and a part present at the anterior end which is known as acrosome. So these are just asking us the functions of each part. So head is a place where nucleus is there, and nucleus will always contain the genetic material. So I have not given the right options, but I am just telling you the function of each part. So in this case, the option will be A, will be matched to 4th. And let's see what's the function of middle piece. So middle piece is a one that is rich in mitochondria. So its main role is to provide the energy. So with B, we would be matching option 3. Let's move ahead. Acrosome is a part that contains the enzyme and it helps in penetrating the ovum. So with C part, we will be matching it with Roman 1. We are just left with one option, and by default, it will be, tail will be matched to the sperm motility, and this we very well know. This is the flagella which basically makes the sperm motile. So with D option, we would be writing option number 2. So we need to know the structure of the human sperm along with function of each of the part. The next question is asking you all that which of the following hormones is not secreted by human placenta? Is it human chorionic gonadotropin? Yes, it is very much produced by the placenta. Estrogens are also produced. Progesterones are also produced, but this is never produced. So answer to this question will become option D, luteinizing hormone. This question is a very good question and important too. In this question, they are asking you the functions of each part of the embryo, and you must learn this, right? This is important. First is trophoblast. So trophoblast is the outermost layer of the blastocyst. This we have already studied in the human reproduction. So among all the options that are given, suppose we consider this as column B and this as column A. So trophoblast, if you go on reading option number 1 to 4 from column number B, you will find it that it is the outermost layer of the blastocyst or blastula, right? Next is cleavage. So cleavage is a kind of mitotic division in the zygote. inner cell mass. Inner cell mass is a one that will give rise to the embryo. So once implantation is done, inner cell mass is very peculiar, and inner cell mass is a one in which group of cells are restricted to one end and other side complete cavity or blastocele is seen, right? So this inner cell mass is basically responsible for forming the embryo. So again, we are just left with one option, and that is implantation. We very well know that implantation is the embedding of blastocyst in the endometrium. So if I keep on writing the right answers, it will be A, we have matched to 3. So among all the given options that will be given to you, you need to pick up the one in which such type of mentioning will be there. B has to be matched with the fourth option, and C has to be matched with the second option, and of course D will be matched to the option number 1. This question is asking you distance between the genes and the percentage of recombination. When they are asking about percentage of recombination, you need to remember that with recombination they want to say about crossing over, and the products of recombination, they are known as crossovers, right? So they are asking distance between the genes and the percentage of recombination shows a direct relationship, an inverse relationship, a parallel relationship, or no relationship. To understand the question, one thing you need to thoroughly remember, that linkage is inversely proportional to distance. When I say inversely proportional, it means when linkage will increase, then distance has to decrease. That means with lesser distance between the genes, linkage will be high. Whereas if I say that distance between the genes is more, then in that case linkage will be very less, right? This is one relationship which you have to learn. Another relationship which you have to learn is linkage is also proportional to crossing over, right? So here in this question, they are asking the distance. So as you have seen that linkage is indirectly proportional to distance, means linkage would be low if distance is high, right? And the opposite is also valid, right? So if linkage is more, then crossing over will be less. But if linkage is less, then crossing over will be more. This is important to retain and learn. So as soon as the distance is increasing, the crossing in over will be more. So if distance is more, crossing over will be more, right? If distance is more, crossing over is more, then linkage will be less, because linkage and crossing over are inversely proportional to each other. If you have not understood this concept, it's better to replay and understand the concept here. So with this explanation, we understood that there is a direct relationship between the genes and the recombination. This question is asking that in a certain taxon of insects, some have 17 chromosomes whereas some have 18 chromosomes. The 17 and 18 chromosomes bearing organisms are. Remember, the key word to solve this question is insect. And this question is from your topics sex determination. If you rewind and go back in your memory, then you must be able to recollect that heteromorphic type of sex determination was present in the insects, where female was homogametic. So this was the sex chromosomes in the case of female, whereas males were heterogametic, and males, they just had one sex chromosome, right? Now our question will become very, very easy. They are saying that some had 17 and some had 18. So here we have understood that 0 means XO means O means no sex chromosome. That means male will be devoid of one chromosome, right? So of course they are asking about 17 and 18 here. So first we need to answer for 17 and then we have to answer for 18, because in the answer you may also see respectively is written. That means male 17, because males are heterogametic and they contain just a chromosome. So we would be ticking at this option A, because males are one chromosome less and females are homomorphic or with 18 number of chromosomes, right? So please go back and learn all the examples of sex determination that are there. It is important to know that human beings and Drosophila, we have same type of sex determination, which is XX and XY. XX and XO, I have already stated, this is present in the insects. ZW and ZZ, it is present in the case of birds, whereas ZO and ZZ, it is present in the butterfly and the moths. The next question is asking that seminal plasma, which is the fluid part of semen, is contributed by. Remember, once sperms are formed and they come in vasa differentia, they are not functional. They are made functional as sperms move in the accessory glands. First seminal vesicle comes, then prostate gland comes, and then comes your bulbourethral gland. So when sperms, they mix up with the secretion of all these three accessory glands, then they become functional. So of course in this case, this one is the correct one, this one is also correct, and bulbourethral or Kopler's gland is also correct. So we would be picking up this option 1, 2 and 4, which is option number B. So the right answer to this question is option number B. This question is asking, among the given cells, which one has 23 chromosomes? Remember, to solve this question, you must understand that each cell of the human being body contains 46 chromosomes. And this is 2n, means the diploid condition, means the chromosomes will be present in the pairs. Now we know the basic logic that meiosis gets accomplished by meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1, which is a part of meiosis, this will result in the formation of 2 daughter cells, and each daughter cell will have 23 chromosomes, which are also known as the haploid cells, right? So they are asking which among these contains 23 chromosomes. Let's go one by one. Spermatogonia is absolutely wrong answer because it is diploid. It is 2n. It contains 46 chromosomes. Zygote is also incorrect because zygote is formed by the fusion of male and female gamete. That is why it is also 2n. Oogonia is also incorrect because it is 2n or diploid in number. We are left just with one option, and that is the right answer to this question, secondary oocyte, right? Remember that primary oocyte divided by the process of meiosis 1 to form secondary oocyte that was released in the fallopian tube by the process of ovulation. This was n in number, means haploid. It had 23 chromosomes. The other small body that was formed by meo1 rather, it is known as polar body, and it was sterile in nature. So secondary oocyte was haploid in nature, and this we have studied in the process of oogenesis, which is a part of gametogenesis. Students, that was all for today's video. I hope you have liked my video. Please don't forget to share it among your friends and stay connected to my channel Online Biology Tutorials. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe it. I will be shooting the exemplar series also very soon, and it will be uploaded on my channel very soon. Wishing you all the very best for your exams. God bless.